In today's fast-paced world, stress and anxiety have become constant challenges, impacting our minds and bodies in ways our biology isn't equipped to handle. While stress is a natural response to danger, modern life exposes us to ongoing, intangible pressures, like work, social expectations, and personal insecurities, that keep our minds in a state of perpetual alertness. This script explores the psychology of stress and anxiety, from how early experiences and genetics influence our sensitivity to how chronic stress affects our physical health. It also offers insights and practical strategies for building resilience, helping us cope with life's demands and reclaim control over our emotional well-being. Understanding these dynamics is the first step toward breaking free from the cycle of stress and anxiety. Welcome to our channel. Don't forget to like, share, and comment, and press the bell icon. Let's get started. Chapter 1. The Invisible Storm. We all feel it, sometimes subtly, like a tightening in the chest or a knot in the stomach. Other times, it crashes over us like a wave, stealing our breath and scattering our thoughts. Stress and anxiety are the invisible storms of modern life, relentless, unpredictable, and often misunderstood. But while we often use the words interchangeably, they are not the same. Stress is your body's reaction to a challenge or demand. It can be external, an upcoming exam, a toxic job, a financial crisis. It sharpens our focus, quickens our pulse, and pushes us to act. In small doses, stress is even helpful. It's what kept our ancestors alive on the savannah when a rustle in the bushes could mean a lurking predator. Stress is short-term, situational. It ends when the threat ends. Anxiety, on the other hand, is the mind's reaction to that stress. It's internal. It lingers. Anxiety doesn't always need a trigger. Sometimes it shows up uninvited, whispering fears of what might happen. Worries that loop endlessly, scenarios that never come true. Where stress is a response to danger, anxiety is the fear of the possibility of danger. It's our internal alarm system getting stuck in the on position. So why are we all feeling so much of it? Because our biology hasn't caught up with our reality. Our minds are wired for survival in a world that no longer exists. Thousands of years ago, we were hunter-gatherers dodging predators and braving the elements. Our brains evolved to detect threats quickly and respond decisively. Fight, flee, or freeze. That's the system we still carry today. But our modern threats don't look like saber-toothed tigers anymore. They're not always physical or immediate. They're psychological: job insecurity, social media comparison, climate anxiety, information overload. These aren't threats we can fight off with our fists or outrun with our legs. Yet the body responds as if we could. A rude email, an unpaid bill, a tense family dinner. All of them flip the same biological switches. Our heart rate spikes, muscles tense, cortisol floods the system. But there's nowhere for that energy to go, no physical outlet to resolve the stress. So it builds, and over time it wears us down. This mismatch between our ancient stress response and our modern environment is one of the core reasons stress and anxiety are so prevalent today. We are biologically designed for short bursts of stress, not the chronic, low-grade panic that simmers just beneath the surface of our lives. Every ping of our phone, every news headline, every glance at a social feed can trigger a micro-stress response. And unlike our ancestors, who had time to rest after danger passed, we often go from one stressor to the next with no pause. Wake up, commute, work, emails, deadlines, bills, family, repeat. The body never gets a chance to reset. It's like living in a house with a smoke alarm that goes off every hour, even when there's no fire. And it's not just the volume of stress, but the type. Much of our anxiety today stems from uncertainty and lack of control. The job market is unpredictable. The world feels fragile. Technology evolves faster than we can adapt. We're more connected than ever, yet loneliness has become a public health crisis. Our ancestors dealt with life and death moments, but they didn't worry about their likes per photo ratio, their inbox count, or whether they were falling behind in the hustle culture. And yet, we blame ourselves for struggling. We think we're weak or lazy. But what if the problem isn't us, but the environment we're trying to survive in? Understanding stress and anxiety is the first step toward reclaiming control. These aren't personal failings, they're natural responses. They're signals, not defects. When the body tenses, when the heart races, when the thoughts won't stop spinning, it's your system trying to protect you. The storm inside is real, but so is the calm that follows if we learn how to find it. In the chapters ahead, we'll explore the mechanics of this invisible storm, how it starts, how it shapes our brain and body, and how we can weather it. You'll hear from real people, learn practical tools, and uncover the science that reveals. Stress and anxiety are not signs that we're broken. They are signs that we are alive, that we care, that we are responding to a world full of pressure. But there is another way, a way to live, not just survive, a way to navigate the storm, not with fear, but with understanding. Chapter 2. The brain's alarm system. Imagine you're walking through the woods. The air is still. Birds are chirping. Suddenly, you hear a sharp rustle behind you. Instantly, without thinking, your heart races, your muscles tense, your breath quickens. That's not your imagination. That's your brain's alarm system in full effect. This automatic survival mechanism is known as the fight-or-flight response, a rapid, primal reaction designed to prepare your body to either confront a threat or escape it. It's fast, powerful, and deeply embedded in our biology. At the center of the system is a tiny, almond-shaped structure in your brain called the amygdala, often referred to as the brain's smoke detector. The amygdala is constantly scanning for danger. It doesn't think. It reacts. When it detects something threatening, real or imagined, it sounds the alarm. The alarm signal travels to the hypothalamus, a small but vital control center. The hypothalamus acts like a command station, alerting the body to prepare for action. It sends messages through the autonomic nervous system to release adrenaline and other stress hormones. Within seconds, your heart rate increases, your pupils dilate, and blood rushes to your muscles. You are now in survival mode. But this is just the beginning. If the threat continues, the hypothalamus activates a second system, the HPA axis, a complex interaction between the hypothalamus, pituitary gland, and adrenal glands. This system triggers the release of cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone. Cortisol helps keep you on high alert. It ensures that glucose is available for energy and suppresses non-essential functions like digestion and immune response so that all resources go toward handling the threat. This short-term stress response is incredibly adaptive. It has saved countless lives throughout human evolution. But there's a catch. Our brains evolved to handle acute, time-limited threats. The tiger either attacked or walked away. The storm either passed or didn't. Stress came in spikes, not streams. Today, we're not running from predators, but our amygdala can't tell the difference between a lion in the bushes and an angry boss in a meeting. The stress response is triggered the same way, whether the threat is physical danger or psychological pressure. And that's where the real problem begins: chronic stress. When the stress response is activated frequently, or worse, continuously, it takes a toll on the brain. Cortisol, when released occasionally, is helpful. But when it floods the system day after day, it begins to damage the very areas of the brain that help regulate stress in the first place. One of the first victims is the hippocampus, the brain's memory and learning center. The hippocampus also plays a role in calming the stress response. But under chronic stress, it begins to shrink. Studies show that long-term exposure to cortisol can reduce the size of the hippocampus, impairing memory and making it harder to shut off the stress cycle. Then there's the prefrontal cortex, the rational, logical part of your brain that helps with decision-making and impulse control. Under constant stress, this region becomes less active and less effective. That's why stress can make you feel scattered, irritable, or unable to focus. Meanwhile, the amygdala, which initiates the alarm, actually becomes stronger and more sensitive. It grows more neural connections and fires more easily, meaning it starts reacting to even minor triggers as if they were serious threats. In other words, chronic stress rewires your brain to stay in a perpetual state of alarm. This cycle is both subtle and devastating. You begin to feel on edge all the time. Small problems feel enormous. You overreact. You can't sleep. Your body aches. You forget things. And worst of all, You might blame yourself for not handling it better. But this isn't about weakness. It's biology. Your brain is doing what it was designed to do only too often and for too long. Even more concerning is how this system starts early. Children raised in high-stress environments, those exposed to trauma, neglect, or instability, often develop overactive stress responses. Their brains become wired for vigilance, mistrust, and fear. These patterns can persist into adulthood, making stress and anxiety feel like lifelong companions. The good news? The brain is plastic, it can change. Neuroplasticity means that with the right strategies, the damage caused by stress can be reversed. The hippocampus can regrow. The prefrontal cortex can re-engage. The amygdala can be retrained. But it takes awareness, effort, and time. Understanding your alarm system is the first step toward regaining control. Stress is not just in your head. It's in your brain's wiring, your body's chemistry, and your nervous system's history. But just as stress reshapes the brain in harmful ways, calm can reshape it in healing ways. Chapter 3: Roots of the Fire. Stress and anxiety don't appear out of thin air. They have roots, some visible, some buried deep. Like a fire that flares up unexpectedly. These emotional blazes often start from embers smoldering beneath the surface for years. To truly understand the psychology of stress and anxiety, we must trace it back to where it begins. In childhood, in biology, in personality, and in the environments we live in every day. Early life, the blueprint of emotional survival. Our earliest years shape our emotional foundation. The brain of a child is like soft clay, pliable, impressionable, and highly responsive to the world around it. If those early environments are nurturing and safe, the stress response system develops in a balanced way. But if a child is exposed to chronic stress, violence, neglect, loss, or unpredictability, the system adapts for survival rather than security. This is known as toxic stress. It's the kind of stress that doesn't come and go but lingers. When children grow up in homes where yelling is constant, support is scarce, or danger is routine, their brains begin to expect threat. The amygdala becomes hypersensitive, the cortisol system becomes overactive, and the wiring for calm never fully develops. These children may grow up to become adults who are easily overwhelmed, hypervigilant, or emotionally reactive. Not because they are flawed, but because their brains were trained to survive, not to feel safe. One study, called the Adverse Childhood Experiences (ACE) study, found a strong link between early trauma and later anxiety, depression, substance abuse, and even physical illness. The higher your ACE score, the more likely your nervous system learned to live on edge. But early life isn't the only source of sensitivity to stress. Personality, the lens you see through. Personality traits are another powerful influence on stress and anxiety. Some people are naturally more reactive, cautious, or introspective. Others are more easygoing, bold, or resilient. These tendencies affect how we interpret and respond to the world. One of the most common personality traits linked to anxiety is neuroticism, a tendency toward negative emotions, worry, and emotional instability. People high in neuroticism are more likely to feel anxious in response to uncertainty or criticism. Their internal dialogue often leans toward worst-case thinking. Another common trait is perfectionism, the need to meet impossibly high standards. Perfectionists may constantly feel like they're not doing enough, not good enough, not achieving fast enough. This constant pressure can create a slow-burn anxiety that never quite goes away. Every task becomes a potential threat to self-worth. Even introversion, which is not a flaw but a temperament, can contribute to social anxiety if misunderstood or unsupported. People who prefer solitude may feel pressure to be more outgoing, leading to feelings of inadequacy or overstimulation. Personality isn't the cause of anxiety, but it colors the lens through which we experience life. Understanding your temperament allows you to better manage your emotional responses, not by changing who you are, but by adapting how you respond. Environmental triggers, the fires we walk through daily. Even with a supportive childhood, balanced biology, and a grounded personality, stress and anxiety can still take root, especially when the environment fans the flames. Think about the world we live in. Constant noise and overstimulation. 24/7 news cycles of crisis and catastrophe, a culture that rewards overwork and glorifies exhaustion, technology that connects us but also compares us, workplace stress, financial insecurity, discrimination, health struggles, and social isolation are all real and powerful triggers. Even living in a noisy or unsafe neighborhood can heighten baseline anxiety levels. Our environment feeds our nervous system, and if what it feeds us is constant tension, our system adapts accordingly. Then there's the pressure of performance, to succeed, to look a certain way, to always be on. Social media amplifies this, creating a distorted mirror where we only see everyone else's highlight reels. The fear of missing out, the fear of not measuring up, the fear of falling behind. It's a perfect storm for anxiety. Stress and anxiety don't have a single cause. They are a tangled web of biology, history, and context. But knowing where the roots lie helps us loosen their grip. The more we understand the fire's origins, the better equipped we are to manage the flames. Chapter 4. The body remembers. When we think of stress and anxiety, we often imagine racing thoughts, restless nights, or emotional overwhelm. But what we often forget or overlook is that stress isn't just something that happens in our minds. It happens in our bodies, deeply, physically, and sometimes silently. The body keeps score. Every surge of adrenaline, every wave of cortisol, every moment of fight or flight, your body absorbs it all. Over time, it remembers, and eventually it starts to speak back. Through pain, illness, fatigue, and dysfunction. Stress and anxiety are emotional storms. Yes, but they leave very real, physical debris in their wake. The physical toll of a constant alarm. Chronic stress and anxiety affect nearly every system in the body. It starts with the autonomic nervous system, the part of your body that controls unconscious functions like heartbeat, breathing, and digestion. When stress becomes chronic, this system stays in overdrive. It's like running an engine non-stop without ever changing the oil. Eventually, things break down. Let's look at the key systems affected. 1. The immune system weakened defenses. In small bursts, stress can actually boost immunity, helping you fight off immediate threats. But under chronic stress, the effect reverses. Cortisol, when constantly elevated, suppresses immune function. Your body stops producing enough white blood cells. Inflammation levels rise. This means you get sick more often. You take longer to heal. You may even develop autoimmune responses, where the immune system begins attacking healthy tissue. Stress doesn't just make you feel run down, it makes you run down. 2. The digestive system, a gut in turmoil. Ever felt butterflies in your stomach before a big moment? Or lost your appetite during a stressful week? That's not coincidence. Your gut and brain are deeply connected through what scientists call the gut-brain axis. Stress disrupts this communication. Under stress, the body slows or halts digestion. Blood is diverted away from the gut to the muscles and heart. This can lead to bloating, cramping, nausea, and constipation. In some people, stress triggers irritable bowel syndrome, IBS, or worsens symptoms of acid reflux and ulcers. Anxiety also changes your gut bacteria, disrupting the microbiome, which in turn affects mood and immune health. It's a vicious cycle. Stress impacts the gut, and the gut feeds back into mental health. 3. The cardiovascular system, a heavy heart. When you're anxious or under stress, your heart beats faster. Your blood vessels constrict. Your blood pressure rises. This is your body preparing to fight or flee. But what if there's nothing to fight and nowhere to flee? Over time, this constant cardiovascular tension damages the heart and arteries. Chronic stress is a known risk factor for high blood pressure, heart disease, and stroke. Some people even experience stress-induced heart events like Takotsubo cardiomyopathy, also known as broken heart syndrome. The emotional weight becomes literal. The heart, once a metaphor for feelings, becomes a target of them. 4. Psychosomatic disorders, when the body cries out. Sometimes, stress and anxiety don't just affect a system. They create symptoms that seem like disease but have no clear physical origin. These are known as psychosomatic disorders. People suffering from psychosomatic symptoms might experience Chronic pain with no detectable cause. Headaches, dizziness, or fainting spells. Numbness or tingling in limbs. Chest tightness or shortness of breath. Fatigue so deep it mimics illness. These symptoms are real, not in your head. They are the body's way of expressing distress it doesn't know how to release. It's a silent scream, a form of communication when words or emotions are buried too deep. 5. Sleep and energy, the first to fall. One of the earliest and most common casualties of chronic anxiety is sleep. When your brain believes you're under threat, it doesn't want you to rest. It wants you to stay alert, to scan for danger, to stay awake just in case. This leads to trouble falling asleep, waking up frequently in the night, vivid nightmares or panic attacks during sleep, waking up feeling exhausted, as if you never rested at all. Sleep is when the body repairs. When it's disrupted night after night, energy levels plummet. You may feel wired but tired, jumpy and jittery, yet unable to focus or move efficiently. Chronic fatigue follows. Burnout isn't just mental, it's biological. The feedback loop, the tragedy of stress-related illness, is how it feeds on itself. The more your body suffers, the more anxious you become. The more anxious you are, the worse your body feels. It's a self-sustaining loop of fear, fatigue, and physical decline. You might go to doctor after doctor with symptoms that don't show up on scans. You might feel invalidated, even crazy, but your body is not lying. It's trying to tell you something that your conscious mind might not yet be ready to hear. Chapter 5: Mind Traps and Thinking Errors. Sometimes, the most dangerous place to be during stress isn't the outside world. It's inside our own minds. Long after the threat is gone, long after the situation has passed, our thoughts continue to churn, replay, and catastrophize. And more often than not, it's these patterns of thinking, not the actual events, that keep us stuck in anxiety. These patterns are known as cognitive distortions, habitual ways of thinking that are biased, exaggerated, or irrational. Everyone experiences them from time to time, but for those living with chronic stress or anxiety, these distortions become automatic and invisible. The anxiety loop. The anxious brain is a master storyteller. It creates vivid narratives about what might happen, what should have happened, and what you can't handle. It's not trying to hurt you. In fact, it believes it's protecting you. But in doing so, it traps you in a mental spiral that reinforces fear, avoidance, and helplessness. Here are some of the most common mental traps. 1. Catastrophizing, always expecting the worst. This is the what if loop that plays on repeat. What if I fail this test? What if I lose my job? What if they hate me? What if I can't handle it? Catastrophizing doesn't just anticipate problems. It amplifies them. It takes a small issue and imagines the worst-case scenario as inevitable. A missed call becomes a disaster. A delayed text becomes rejection. A headache becomes a tumor. Anxiety feeds on this uncertainty and grows stronger every time the mind predicts doom. 2. Black and white thinking, no gray areas allowed. Also called all-or-nothing thinking, this distortion sees the world in extremes. I'm either a success or a failure. People either like me or they hate me. If I don't do it perfectly, it's worthless. This type of thinking doesn't leave room for nuance or growth. It puts enormous pressure on performance and turns everyday challenges into moral judgments. A single mistake becomes a reflection of your worth. And that's exhausting. 3. Avoidance. Escaping the storm instead of facing it. Avoidance is a natural response to anxiety. If something feels scary or uncomfortable, our instinct is to avoid it. But the more we avoid, the more power that fear gains. We skip the presentation, we cancel the social event, we put off that difficult conversation. And in doing so, we teach our brain that the fear was valid, and that escape was the only option. Avoidance provides short-term relief, but long-term damage. Over time, it shrinks your world. What used to be manageable becomes terrifying, and anxiety grows like a shadow in the spaces you no longer enter. 4. Mind reading and fortune-telling. These are common in social anxiety. You assume you know what others are thinking, and it's always negative. They think I'm boring. Everyone noticed how awkward I was. They're probably laughing behind my back. Or you predict the future with bleak certainty. I'll mess up the interview. I'll never get better. This will never end. But these are guesses, not facts. The anxious mind confuses possibility with probability. And that confusion fuels fear. 5. Emotional reasoning. This distortion says, if I feel anxious, there must be something wrong. But anxiety isn't always a reliable narrator. It's a response, not always a reflection of reality. Emotional reasoning can lead to unnecessary fear, hesitation, and avoidance, even when there's no real danger present. Real-life spiral. Olivia's story. Olivia is a 29-year-old teacher. One evening, she sent a message to a close friend and didn't receive a reply. By morning, her thoughts spiraled. She's ignoring me. I must have said something wrong. She probably doesn't want to be friends anymore. Everyone leaves me eventually. I'm not worth keeping around. By the afternoon, Olivia had deleted her social media and canceled plans for the weekend. The original event, a delayed reply, was harmless. But her mind filled in the blanks with self-doubt, fear, and rejection. She spiraled not because of what happened, but because of what she thought it meant. This is the power and danger of unchecked thinking errors. The good news: thoughts can be reframed. The first step to breaking these traps is awareness. Most of us don't even notice when we're caught in a distorted thought. We accept them as truth because they feel automatic. But they're not truths, they're habits. Therapies like cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, help people identify, challenge, and reframe these distortions. The question becomes not, is this thought real? But, is this thought helpful? Is it grounded? Is there another way to see this? You can learn to pause the spiral. You can learn to question your anxious mind rather than obey it. And each time you do, the mind grows a little quieter, a little clearer, reclaiming your mental space. Stress and anxiety may begin with a trigger, but they thrive in the stories we tell ourselves. The good news is we can rewrite the story. With practice, self-compassion, and support, we can catch the distortions before they escalate and ground ourselves in reality rather than fear. Chapter 8. Building a Resilient Life. Stress and anxiety may never fully disappear, but resilience, our ability to bend without breaking, to adapt and grow through challenge, is the key to living a balanced, meaningful life. It's not about becoming immune to hardship. It's about learning to face it with strength, clarity, and compassion. Resilience is not a fixed trait. It's a skill, a collection of habits, perspectives, and supports that can be cultivated over time. And it begins not with grand transformations, but with small, consistent choices that strengthen both body and mind. 1. Lifestyle habits. Strengthening the foundation. The building blocks of a resilient mind start with how we care for our bodies. Sleep, the brain's recovery room. Sleep is not a luxury, it's a necessity. During deep sleep, your brain processes emotions, repairs damage, and clears away stress hormones. Chronic sleep deprivation increases cortisol, weakens emotional regulation, and amplifies anxiety. Resilience begins with rest. Aim for 7 to 9 hours per night, prioritize wind-down routines, and limit screens before bed. A well-rested brain is a more balanced brain. Exercise, moving stress out of the body. Movement is one of the most effective stress relievers known to science. Whether it's a brisk walk, yoga, dancing, or weight training, exercise boosts mood-regulating neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine. It also burns off the physical energy created by stress and calms the nervous system. Even 20 to 30 minutes of daily movement can reduce anxiety symptoms dramatically. It isn't about performance. It's about release. Nutrition. Feeding calm from the inside out. Your brain needs fuel to function well, and the wrong fuel can inflame anxiety. Diets high in sugar, caffeine, and processed foods can worsen stress, while whole foods, leafy greens, omega-3 fats, and fermented foods support brain health. The gut and brain are in constant dialogue. A nourished gut supports a more stable mood and reduces vulnerability to anxiety. Hydration. Balanced meals and regular eating times create a rhythm that supports both the body and mind. 2. Social support. You don't have to do this alone. We are wired for connection. When stress strikes, isolation magnifies it. But even one trusted connection, a friend, therapist, family member, can act as a buffer. Strong social bonds reduce cortisol, increase oxytocin, a calming hormone, and remind us that we are not alone. It's not about how many people you know. It's about how deeply you feel seen, heard, and valued by just a few. If you don't have that support yet, it's never too late to build it. Join a group. Reach out. Talk to someone. Let yourself be known. Connection is medicine. 3. Purpose and meaning, anchors in the storm. Stress and anxiety often become overwhelming when life feels directionless or hollow. One of the most powerful protectors against chronic anxiety is a sense of purpose. A belief that your life matters, that you're moving towards something meaningful. This doesn't have to be grand. Purpose can be raising children, helping others, building something creative, learning a skill, or simply becoming a better version of yourself. Psychologist Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor, wrote, "Those who have a why to live can bear almost any how. Meaning turns pain into growth. Purpose transforms suffering into strength." 4. A final message of hope. You are not broken. If you felt like anxiety has stolen years from your life, if you felt shame, exhaustion, or defeat, you are not alone. And you are not broken. Stress and anxiety are not flaws. They are signs that your system has been working overtime to protect you. They mean you care. They mean you're alive. And most importantly, they can be managed, understood, and healed. You've now explored the full landscape of stress and anxiety. From the brain's alarm system to the thinking traps that keep us stuck. From the wounds of early life to the power of lifestyle and purpose. You've learned that your nervous system is not your enemy. It's a system that can be trained, soothed, and strengthened. There's no perfect life waiting on the other side of healing. There's no magical day when anxiety disappears forever. But there is a life where you're no longer ruled by fear. A life where stress is a signal, not a sentence. A life where you respond with awareness, not panic. Where you move forward even when afraid. And the best part? You're already on that path. Every time you pause to breathe, every time you question a thought, every time you reach out or rest instead of pushing through, you're building resilience, brick by brick. Thank you for watching full video. Now don't go without like and subscribe.